For the first time, let me just kind of share with you. Part of today's message is going to be sarcastic. For those of you who know me, you're like, you're sarcastic? That's really hard to believe. And so that's just kind of my personality. When I started to write this stuff several months ago, I think I shared with you guys that initially I had the how to was the title, and I was giving it to my wife. We were going over the titles, and she's like, nah, you're not going to do that because today is how not to have an affair. And initially I had it how to have an affair, right? So that would get everyone's attention, right? It's like Pastor Dan's like, come on down. We're going to tell you how to do it, right? So anyway, today we're going to look at it. Now, I want to share with you just kind of my heart today. We're not going to make it all the way through today's lesson. We'll catch next week, and we'll finish it up. I had way more to talk about because relationships and marriage is complicated. Anybody agree with that? You know, I asked the question especially, I love doing premarital counseling to young couples because they have no idea. It's beautiful, right? So it's like, so why do you want to get married? We love each other. Oh. I'm like, okay, so you'll get over that, then what? And it's like, what? But my mom, no, your mama was wrong. Love does not get you through it. Trust me, all right? So when through my ministry experience, not happy about this, but just being totally honest with you about some of my mentors early in my ministry had affairs. And one of them was probably had the most impact in my life, spent a lot of time with me, kind of shaping and molding me. And he had an affair, and his marriage blew up, and his ministry blew up, and it was an awful time. And several months later, actually like a year and a half later, I was finally able to sit down with him and kind of debrief, kind of figure out, what was the cause, what happened, because it's helpful for me to kind of figure out, one, for my own ministry, but also just to kind of understand the psyche of someone. And what, this individual had told me was it wasn't like, garbage cans have to be put out on Sunday night. I got to, take the car in and have the tires rotated, and I'm going to have an affair, right? It wasn't anything like that. It was just something that kind of fell into with some events that took place, and poof, there it was, all right? And he went from, thinking some strange thoughts and bad thoughts, and her thinking some strange thoughts and bad thoughts, to what hotel are we going to go to in a short amount of time. And I'm going to unfold it as we walk through to kind of help you to see the danger of it. At the very top of your outline, here's what it says. Up to 65% of husbands and 55% of wives will commit adultery by the age of 40. And let's just say that number's crazy. Let's just say it's half of that, right? It's half of that. So, no one comes to me and says, hey, we're wanting to get married, we're thinking of July, you available for July? Yeah, let's do the premarital counseling, and then here's my plan. I'm hoping I'm going to be married for like 3 to 5 years, and then I'm going to have an affair, right? And then, all of my life is going to explode, and it's going to be total chaos, total train wreck. No one does that. And yet, statistically, we know it happens, right? We know that these things happen, whether those numbers are scientific or not. I didn't read how they actually did the survey, but even if we just take that and we cut it in half, that's huge. That's huge, right? And so let's talk through the first part, kind of being a little bit sarcastic. Let's talk through how to have an affair. And let me just share with you, again, from my heart, if any of these 4 that I share with you, if you're even close to any of them, the Bible says, flee youthful lust. Don't see if it's nice. Don't poke at it. It's not like a bench. It says wet paint, and you touch it to see if it's true. This is one of those things where if you see it and you're in it, get out of Dodge. Don't take names. Get in your car, peel out, and hit the highway. You with me? Yes. So let's have a little sarcastic fun. You ready? Whenever we do a hard subject like this and a difficult one, laughter is a part of it because we need to kind of take the edge off. So feel free to laugh at inappropriate times. We're going to have a little fun with it because I think for some, perhaps it's a little too close to home. Number one in your outline, as we look at how to have an affair, number one is you enjoy common interest and form an emotional bond with someone else. Okay? Now, here's the argument that folks will say. Yeah, but we didn't do it, right? And if you have kids in here, you read through the line, you know what it is, all right? We didn't do it, right? But let me just kind of share with you that most people and family counselors believe that an emotional affair is worse than the it affair. Okay? And the reason why is because on the emotional affair, the tentacles and the roots go deep into each other. Where the it affair, it's all about it and it's done, right? Now, I'm not saying that that's a good one, okay? I'm totally opposed to it. But when it's an emotional one, it goes into. So the pushback is, well, we really didn't do it, and therefore it must be okay. And the reality is, it begins with the emotional side. And that's where the affair typically begins to push forward and begins to make progress. You rely on someone else to meet your emotional needs, not your spouse. And the moment that you begin to depend on someone else's emotional support in your life, you are really skating on very thin ice. And I will say this without any apology. It is a policy here, and it is probably one of the areas where a staff would get fired like that, and that is this. We don't go out to lunch, and we don't have meetings with people of opposite sex unless another person is here, period. End of subject. And we don't apologize for it, and sometimes it may feel a little awkward. And there's been times where I had to meet with somebody, and I say, my wife's going to sit in here. She has nothing to say, but she's going to sit right here with us, right? And so when we depend on other people, other than our spouse, emotionally, that is where we begin to get ourselves into trouble, right? And so if you're sitting here today and you're thinking through and you say, you know, maybe I am relying a little bit more on whoever that person is that is specifically an opposite sex you're not married to, you've got to flee as fast as you can. I don't want to hear the reason, yeah, but I don't want to hear, right? You are putting yourself in a very dangerous place, and it's amazing how brilliant we are to rationalize and justify some of the most stupidest decisions we can make, and we convince ourselves that it's a good idea. Right? Hello? Yes. Number two is you anticipate time together, and this is with the other person, right? And so you start looking forward to it. You begin to make excuses. You get creative of how to figure out how to get together and that kind of stuff. And it's like, well, hey, let's take our kids and we'll have a play day because they're on the same soccer team and you start getting creative in your way of anticipating a meeting and having that time together where you begin to kind of look forward to it. You begin to get kind of looking at your calendar, figuring out ways to cross paths. And when you get into that situation, if there's even just a little hint in you that think, it's Tuesday, I wonder if he's going to be dropping off the kids. Let me just scream and shoot over the bow of your boat. You've got to flee that situation because you're putting yourself in a bad, bad place. And I know the excuse. I've interviewed many guys and many folks who've had affairs, but I would never. And they do. Okay, it is only by the grace of God, if you haven't, that you've been able to make it, right? And so you've got to recognize that when you set yourself up and you say, I'm strong, you're weak and you're going to lose. The enemy loves to get you full of yourself because he's going to take you out, right? Right? Yes. All right, by the end of the message, you guys will get along with this. All right, number 3, this is a new thing talking back. Number 3 is that you flirt whenever possible. So you look for common interests, there's an emotional bond, you get creative in hooking up and meeting together, and then the third thing is you just flirt whenever possible. Now, I don't know what the cool thing to do in today's world, but maybe it's the ladies, you flip your hair and you give them that look with all those eyelashes going on, right? Whatever that is, right? And maybe the guys, you flex, right? I don't know, however it is. But whatever it is, right? And you just kind of get creative. Right? Your nails, they're beautiful. Let me just kind of say this, ladies. If a guy ever compliments your nails, he's lying. We don't care if you have nails. We don't. Right? We don't care what color frost. Is that like shade 4 of the brown, or is that frost? Right? We don't care about that. Right? It doesn't matter. Doesn't. And if you find that guy coming in going, oh, look, that blue sweater looks it matches your brown eyes. That's great, right? They're lying. They're lying to you. Recognize it for what it is, right? And if you're getting creative and leaving little Post-its and you're asking the lady or the guy at the work, your coworker, did you lose weight? Your chin used to be down to here. Now it's only up to there. That's not a good thing to say. All right, so I won't say it, all right? So whatever it is, you know it. And don't leave here today in the name of Jesus rationalizing and thinking you're going to be okay. Because you won't. Trust me, you won't. The enemy comes to steal, kill, and destroy. And he wants nothing more than to blow up your marriage. Nothing more. And if you think that you have it, you don't. He has stuffed many of stronger people than you. And he's got them planted, in the walls of hell with their names on it. Number 4. The fourth thing is this, that you make excuses and you rationalize your actions. So when you begin to make the common bond, you get the common emotional thing, you start anticipating your time together, you start having the flirtatious behaviors and so forth, and then you begin to rationalize your behavior. In James, if you want to read how sin happens, it's a fishing term, and it just simply means this, that the enemy throws out your bait, he puts it out in front of you, and he bobs it up and down until you take it. And the rationalizing and the making excuses is, if you imagine, it's the fish watching the bait go up and down, going, oh, that looks pretty good. Oh, that looks good. Oh, that'd be great. I'd like to have one of those. Oh, yeah, that's good. And then, baby, it's fish on. It's fish on. And they're setting the hook, and they're reeling you in, right? And when you get to the level 4, you are so far down the road, I hope that the fear of God is in you so much that you have your hair on the back of your neck is standing up. Because you don't only need to flee, you need to flee the situation and whomever that person might be. Because you are just really one poor decision away from it happening. And I know it. You're strong enough. You won't do it. And I'm just simply here to tell you that you will, because you're at a place where you're so far down the road, and then you start throwing in, yeah, but if my wife was a little more sensitive to my needs, and if my husband had a sensitive bone, I could rearrange the whole house, and he comes in and goes, what's for dinner? Scratches himself, sits down on TV. I'm like, honey, did you see the new couch? Huh? What are you talking about? I didn't see anything. Where's the newspaper? Get me the food, woman, right? If my husband was sensitive, I wouldn't be doing it. You have rationalized. Hey, I'm not saying that your husband did right. You are rationalizing and you are justifying your behavior. And it's just a moment till that happens. You with me? Yes. One of the number one questions that couples ask marital counselors or family counselors is, how come we don't love each other like we used to? And that is a common thing. If you've been married, it's typically 3 to 5 or 5 to 7 years. If you've been married, you start beginning to have kind of some marital problems that take place. It used to be years ago that if you were married over 15 to 20 years, your marriage was done, you're going to die together, it's all going to be good. That isn't the case anymore. Couples that have been married in the 15 to 20 year range are getting divorced as much as some of the younger couples that are taking place. We're not exactly sure why that is, but that's what's taking place. And so oftentimes in relationships, you remember when you first got together in the relationship that you have, and then you fast forward to wherever you're at in your current situation, you kind of struggle and you kind of wonder, well, how come our marriage isn't, as great as it was when the relationship just started? And so I want to walk you through why the idea of love is all you need is going to work, and it won't work. And I want to talk about the complications. This isn't a wrong or right thing. This is just how God wired men and how God wired women, and why we have a difficult time in the area of relationships and communicating together. You with me? Yeah. Proverbs 24, verse 3. Here's a great verse, and I'll give you a little explanation here in a moment. It says, homes are built on the foundation of what? And okay, so right above that, I want you to circle the word wisdom, all right? And I want you to write to know what to do and what to say, all right? So wisdom in a relationship is to know what to do and what to say, all right? If your house is going to be built on a strong foundation, guys, ladies, you need to have wisdom, and you need to know what to say, and you need to know what to do, all right? The word understanding in your outline has to do with when to say it and when to do it. Are you with me? You can have the right motives and the wrong timing. You can have the right words and the wrong timing, and guess what? It's not good. Right? And so wisdom is the idea of to know the what. Understanding is to know the when to it. All right? And this is what I tell couples who go through my premarital counseling. You need to be an expert on your spouse. I have a PhD in Tammyology. Okay? So 28, 29 years that we've been married, I'm an expert at Tammyology. And I hope, she's sick today, I hope that she is an expert on Dannyology, all right? You need to be an expert on your spouse. Now, I know the pushback. The pushback is, oh, but, she's complicated and he's, I don't know what, and all that stuff, right? You are an expert. You know exactly what buttons to push. Amen. The problem is it's not the good buttons. You know how to tick them off. Come on, it takes you like 2.9 nanoseconds, right? But it's the good buttons that we don't seem to pay attention to, right? And so we know when to push the wrong buttons, but we don't know what to push the right ones. A friend of mine years ago wrote a book, What Makes You Tick and What Ticks You Off, and he talks about human behavior, understanding what the buttons are that hack people and what are the buttons that actually add something into their life and help them out. And so when it comes to this idea that, well, we love each other, this is why the vast majority of marriages aren't going to work, because it takes more than just love. You have to have wisdom, and you have to have understanding. You have to know the what, and you have to know the when in order to have the relationship grow together and be stronger. Otherwise, you're just going to have the frustration that many of you may be feeling in your life, right? So let me walk through, we're just going to go through one today, but let me walk through 3 of the do's if you're going to have a strong relationship in your home. So number 1 in your outline, how to strengthen your marriage, number 1, is you got to keep on paying attention. You got to keep on paying attention. Attention is one way that you show a person value. All you have is your time. And if you're not investing your time in someone else, don't tell me how much you love them. So love is shown by time, paying attention to the person. You know this because when you first started finding that person, and I think back, Tammy and I met in 7th grade. She was in 7th grade. I was in 8th grade. And so when we first met, it was like, who's that? Right? I was the big 8th grader. Well, I mean, not big. I mean, but I was in 8th grade. Right? That is a sign that somebody matters to you. You start paying attention to them. So then, think back junior high school, folks. Then all of a sudden, it's like, it's 3rd period. She has math right there. Right? Here she comes. Oh, she didn't look at me. Oh, all right. I'll let the air out of her bicycle tire. But it shows that they matter, right? And we all in relationships, we all start out there. We all start out with paying attention to the other person. Look with me in Philippians chapter 2, verse 2 and following. It says, "Then make my joy complete by being like-minded," which we could stop right there and I'll go home, "having the same love, being of one spirit and purpose." Verse 3. "Do nothing out of" what? So draw a line up there and write "my way." Okay? That verse says that in a relationship, you are to do nothing out of my way. But I'm the man, I'm the breadwinner, I'm this, I'm that, I had your kids for you. Whatever it is, nothing out of my way. The flesh says, look out for your own interest. The Spirit says, die to yourself. Right? So we are to do nothing out of selfish ambition or vain conceit, but humbly consider others, what's the word? Better than yourself. Now, this doesn't mean that you beat yourself down and you're worthless and you're trash. It just simply means that you elevate the person that you love, and this we're talking about in a marriage situation. You elevate the person, you value them, you raise them up above yourself. It doesn't mean that you walk around saying, I'm trash, I'm a dirtbag, I'm a loser. It just means that I take my wife and I elevate her. I treat her as if she's more important than me. And I do nothing out of my way. I'm the man, I'm the breadwinner, I've done this, I've done that. I don't do any of that stuff. It's not going to work. So we do nothing out of that selfish ambition, vain conceit, but we humbly consider others better than ourselves. Verse 4, each of you should, and the word look it's an optical thing. It literally means that you've taken your binoculars and you've put them on and you're surveying the needs of someone else. You're not looking at your own needs. You're not looking at your own desires. You're not looking at your own wants. You're looking at your spouse. You're elevating them above yourself, and you're asking yourself, what can I do to help them? Now, here's what we know. When relationships first start, that's exactly what you do. Have you ever tried to sit down in a date? Where do you want to eat? No, it's wherever you want to eat. Oh, I want, I don't know, raw fish and all that. Okay, let's do that. I love raw fish, right? And off you go. And you eat, and you go, I got to go to the restroom. And then you go and, right? Because you want them to have their way. But then you walk down the aisle. We get married. Pastor says, let me introduce to you for the first time. And all of a sudden, selfishness kicks in, right? And we begin to have struggles in our relationship. Are you with me? Yes. So why is that? Now, we're going to go on and we're going to look at the differences between males and females. This is kind of painting with a broad brush. You may not fit completely in it, but it'll help you. And this isn't wrong or right. This is just how God wired men and how God wired women for the most part. So here we go. You ready? The first one is, men tend to be more goal-oriented than women. Okay? Men tend to be more goal-oriented than women. So here's the way it works in a relationship. And this, for some of you ladies, will answer all your questions. You can send me a card during the week because I just figured out the magic formula, right? Guys will do very creative things in the dating period that they will never, ever, ever, until Jesus comes back again after the wedding's over. Okay? Their handle that I want to walk on the beach with bare feet, holding hands and looking at the sunset is not true. They want to sit on their recliner, they want to watch ESPN or some other type of show, and they don't want to be bothered. Okay? Now that you can get over that, now some of you guys are, oh, I really like it. I know. Who does your nails? So here's what happens. In a guy's mind, there's a date. We don't always know the date, but in a guy's mind, all of a sudden, he feels incredibly insecure. He wakes up one day and he goes, I got to get married. Now, whatever age that is, right? I got to go out and find someone, right? I got to go find my honey, right? Job title 1, find a honey, right on the top. So then they go out and they look for that honey, right? Because they're goal-oriented. And they go out and they walk around. They scratch themselves in weird places. And they go, there's one. And they start paying attention to her. Where do you work at, woman? Right? And they start doing all kinds of weird stuff, right? And they'll say, I love poetry. I'm going to write you a poem. Then they get on Google, right? Roses are red, violets are blue, and they write it on a Post-it. They don't even know how to write. Just telling you. And they stick it on their window, and you come out of your office, oh, he thought of me. He is so warm. Not like the other guys. No. He is marvelous. He's wonderful. Oh, look, XO, XO, XO. He didn't even know. He was playing tic-tac-toe. He got confused, all right? He had no idea. And so all of a sudden, it's like, oh, I found him. He's so sensitive. He's so this. He's so that, right? So then you go through the premarital counseling. Some of you guys are going counseling. You're going, oh, boy, maybe I should stay single. So anyway, you walk down the aisle. You meet this handsome pastor. Whoop, whoop, whoop. Dearly beloved, we are gathered to witness a train wreck, to witness a wedding. All right? And we go through the stuff, and then I step back and I say, kiss her, man. And he kisses her, and everything changes. Where's the Post-its? What are you talking about, Post-its? Post-its. Yeah, remember when you used to leave me notes on my car window and you put a rose on the windshield wiper? Yeah, but that's over. Because in his mind, no, and this is true, in his mind, check, I'm done. I went out and I hunted, because I'm a hunter, right? I hunted for a woman, I caught her. I drug her in. My knuckles are dragging on the ground. I got blood on them. Right? I'm married. So now I got to go get a career. I got to get a job. I got to buy a house. I got to get a car. I got to get a shower. I need to shave. I got to do something, right? I got to put deodorant on, whatever it is. And it's done. I'm done. And the woman thinks, and trust me, this is 25, 26 years of counseling. And the woman says, what happened? I mean, I took him for better or for worse, but he's a whole lot worse than I took him for. And they're wondering, what happened? I got a bait and switch. I mean, there's a law in California against that. It's like, buy this. No, you'll get that. And they leave, and they're thinking, what happened? And here's the thing. This isn't good or bad, and males are superior, and women aren't, whatever. This isn't it. This is just simply to say this. if you're married, your husband is probably goal-oriented. And in his mind, he still loves you. In fact, him providing for you or building a career and doing all that stuff is his way of saying, I love you. But you, ladies, you're into the emotional side, the Post-its, the roses, the listen to me, oh, honey, right? And you're wondering what happened. How did it go sideways? How did it go bad? And it's just as simply, it isn't, if you're going to be an expert in your spouse, it's just recognizing that we're different when it comes to that. It's not good or bad. It's just different. But if we elevate our spouse and we look at their needs above our own needs, then all of a sudden I recognize that I am totally a hunter, and that is totally my mindset. I need to be more sensitive, right? I need to up my game in that area. And for Tammy to understand, hey, this dude's a hunter, man. He's going to go in, he's going to kill it, he's going to slay it, he's going to fillet it, he's going to barbecue, he's done. And she needs to understand that. And it's just how we work and understanding the differences if we're going to work in an area where our homes are built on wisdom and understanding in our life. Are you with me? Yes. The third one, or second one, I should say. You tend to notice that after you buy something new, it loses its attraction. Right? And this is good. In the context of relationships, you need to understand that. You need to understand that when it comes to relationships, that's why marriages that are in 5 to 7 years end up having marital problems, is because the attraction has worn off. And what was, you're so important to me, gets overwhelmed with life and careers and choices and perhaps kids, and I got to take them to practice and do this and do that. And life comes in, and all of a sudden, you're no longer paying attention to them. The attraction doesn't mean that she's not pretty and he's not handsome, but the attraction part begins to peel away, and you're spending less time in that area of focusing. They done studies, and they found that when a guy woos a woman early in the relationship, it takes 5 to 15 hours a week of undivided attention to bring her away. So some of you guys who are single, you need to write 5 to 15 hours, all right? Take a shower, brush your teeth, comb your hair in 5 to 15 hours. But that's what they found, that it takes that undivided attention. Now you think about it in relationships. When you first meet, it's where do you want to go? What do you want to, oh no, I love shopping, honey. Let's go. We're going to walk the mall. Yeah, this is great. Look at a place to get your nails done, right? Let's go in there. I want a pedicure, a manicure, whatever it is, right? And you do all that stuff, married, click, done, and then all of a sudden you're off to something else. Right? And you're not paying attention to. Think about your vehicle. I remember the first little minivan we got when Brandon was born. And, you're making a payment on that thing. It's like you got car payments from now until when Jesus comes back, like 80 easy monthly payments. We waxed it, we armor all the tires, and I would tell Tammy, he is not riding in my car if he has a soiled diaper. You know what I'm saying, right? Because the last thing I want to get, right? No, get rid of him. Put him on the roof rack, right? I want a roof rack on this one. Put him in that box up there. Because that's what they're for right there. It says, kid carrier right there. And so you just put the kid on there because I didn't want my new car smell. I didn't want to go, oh my, what is that? Right? I didn't want that. Now, fast forward it a few years, right? Kids 2, 3 years old, right? They got window markings, right? You're like, whoa, where did that come from? Looks like it came from his nose, right? Right? And French fries, and you got all this stuff. It's like, oh yeah, here. You're throwing it in the back, and they got it under the seat. Your vacuum is like, wow, look at that. That's like a penicillin farm right underneath there. All kinds of new stuff. But early in it, no way. The kid coughed. You pulled over. Pull him out. I mean, it's him or the car. That's it. So, figure it out, right? And go in your garage. How many things, guys, ladies, in your closet, how many things that you got to have, you don't even know where it's at right now. It's in a box somewhere, and you think, right? But you got to have it, and then after you wore it a few times, it's like, it's out the window, right? So in relationships, we do the same thing. As time goes on, it kind of loses its attraction, it loses its newness, and it begins to kind of fade away. So then you got the whole thing. It's like, pay attention to me. It's like, pay attention? I'm not going to pay attention. I'm already finished paying attention to you. And then the marriage begins to drift. It's called marital drift. And the marriage begins to drift, and the relationship gets fractured. And then here's the problem. If you're not meeting your emotional needs of your spouse, someone else will. Okay? It's a hard thing to have, but it's a reality. If you're not paying attention to them, and all of a sudden the marriage begins to drift, then all of a sudden someone else comes in and says, oh, did you get your, oh, is that, look, oh, your hair's beautiful. Did you lose weight? Right? And all of a sudden, the emotional side, the tentacles start going deep in the relationship. And you find yourself in a bad spot, right? Because the differences in our relationship and the way we communicate and the way we deal with people, with each other, it starts causing a drift in the relationship. You with me? Next one is, talking shows you are paying attention. If you're going to pay attention to your spouse, then, guys, communication is going to be a key part of that taking place. When you value them, you're willing to listen to them, right? And we're going to talk a little bit about that in a moment. So here is the struggles when it comes to that area in your outline. Men are hunters, women are hinters. Okay? Men are hunters, women are hinters. So here's the way it works. Again, typically, guys, when we go to the store, we know what we want, we know what aisle. In fact, in some stores, on their smartphone, tells you what aisle and what section it's on, right? Glory to God for the smart people. And so we're on aisle 4, section 3. We walk down, we grab it, we go to the next one, we grab it, and poof, we're gone. We are hunters. We get in there and we slay them. Women are hinters, right? So, danger. This is what I thought early on in my marriage before I was an expert in tamiology. I thought when she asked me what I was doing on the weekend, she wanted to know. So, honey, what are you doing this weekend? Well, I got to mow the lawn. I got to rotate the tires. The fence is looking a little loose back there. I got to nail down some fences. And then I'm going to watch something on ESPN. Done. Not even close. Okay? She was hinting. I had no idea. I'm thinking, we're finished. Right? We're finished. She was hinting, and here's the hint. Honey, I have some things I would like you to do for me or with me. You didn't ask me that. You asked me what I was doing. I got to mow the lawn. I got to change the tire. I got bing, bing, bing. I got a list, right? Black and white. I'm a hunter. Get in there. You slay it. You leave. She's hinting. So I didn't get it. And then later, you would hear, well, you never do anything for me. And you're like, never do anything for you? When did you ask me to do anything? Well, I asked you what you were doing. Asking me what I'm doing and what to do is two different, worlds there, right? Right? See, he knows. And so then the wife starts getting a little aggravated because we're not sensitive. We're not mind readers, right? We don't read code. We hardly read. Draw us a picture, right? And so when it comes to paying attention, I mean, you see, it isn't an issue of, gee, do I love my wife or not, or my husband or not? It's not like we're just missing. We're going the wrong direction. We're going in opposite directions. We're not even from the same galaxy, right? And so it becomes a problem in the communication and when we're doing things and you're hinting and whether you're hunting. So let me just say this. Guys, if your wife says, what are you doing? Scratch it, and here's the translation. She has something for you to do or something that she would like to do with you. So just know that, right? Just write it down right there. Just put it in the paper. Number 3, the second thing is this. Men are solvers, women are sensors. Okay? Men are solvers, women are sensors. And what's so funny when you do counseling, it's the same stories with different faces, right? It's hilarious. I mean, it's not fun in the sense that you're laughing at them, but it's like, guys, we're like the dumbest creatures known to mankind, all right? So just know that on the front end of it. But here's what happens in a marriage. The wife says, I'm having problems with my sister, my mom, my next door neighbor, the coworker, whatever the case is, right? And whenever I'm around her, she puts me down or she does this, she does that, right? Now, guys are solvers. This is going to be a slam dunk. Here's what I would do, honey. I'd look her in the eye and I'd say, listen, that's not being very nice, right? And if you continue to do that, I'm just going to distance myself from you because you're destructive, you're a critic, and I'm not going to deal with it. Right? Now, from a guy's standpoint, we're done. What's the next question? Right? We're finished. And so you lay out 3 simple steps to give them the backhand, and the wife doesn't pay any attention to it. And guys, because you've told me, you get frustrated because she doesn't listen. She comes home the next day and she goes, she just drives me crazy. And I say, well, did you lay down the law? No, I didn't lay down. Well, you need to lay down the law. And if you lay down the law, it's going to be good. Remember, I have 3 steps. In fact, I wrote it right here on the whiteboard. Look at right here. It's got 1, 2, 3. You get that? Look at 1, 2, 3. Recite after me. Fill in the blank, right? Just like church. 1, 2, 3. Now go, right? Next day, she's so hurtful. She's hateful. There's haters out there. She's a hater, right? And after 9 weeks, your head, guys, is spinning off your body. And you need to take me out to get a milkshake so I could talk you off the edge of the roof, right? Because you're in a bad spot. And here's the deal. Your wife didn't ask you to solve it. She's asking you to emotionally feel it. And we are on total different galaxies when it comes to that. They want to talk about the emotion and how when I pull into the parking lot, my stomach is upset, and I know she works in the same cubicle, and it just makes me nauseous, and I'm losing weight, and it feels like, and it reminds me back when I was with that and all that stuff, right? And you're just going through it, and the guy is going, just cut her head off. Be done with it. Right? And they want to, and then it's like, are you finished? No, because then, she reminded me, she had a blouse I had on. I wore a blouse like she bought. Now, I just felt disgusted. I had to go take a shower. We got the same shoes, and you're like, whoa, what on earth are you talking about? I gave you 3 steps to slay her. Am I right? So, obviously, it becomes one of those things where it's like, I'm just not going to even respond. Because if you're a guy or woman, you're thinking you're in a no-win situation. No matter what you do, it's wrong. So you know what you do? You do nothing. And as a result of that, you're not paying attention, and the relationship begins to divide. Are you with me? Right? And that's why it's but we love each other. It's like, get over it. It's not going to work. Third one is this, and this will be a hard one for you to grab a hold of. Men are tight-lipped and women are talkers. No? So on average, the man talks about 12,000 words a day. And on average, a woman talks about 365 trillion. Just kidding. 24,000 words a day, all right? 24,000 words a day. Double. Yes, thank you. Yeah, it's good math right there. So he knows. So here's how it worked for me. And again, this is total transparency. And if Tammy was here, she would tell you. When she homeschooled our kids, I would come home from work. I talked to the staff, talked to the people, did this, did that, right? She homeschooled the kids. She talked a little bit of this, right? So she had about 21,564 words left over. And I would come home and I would ask a question that I realized I was no longer going to ask. And that is, hey, honey, how did your day go? That is a wrong question to ask, right? Because I got around 21,586 words at once. And I felt like I was in a raft in the Pacific during a tsunami, right? And it was like, right? And then I did mistake number one. Well, Brandon was causing some problems. Well, you should have just grabbed him by the nape of his head, drug him to the bedroom, and said, you're on restriction, and wait till your dad gets home. He's going to swat you in the behind, right? Right? Solved. Done. Oh, no. I want to talk about how he made me feel. And I'm thinking, grab that little kid and wring his neck. That's how he's going to feel, right? Not literally, but you know what I'm saying. At least a nuggie and one of those things, right? So here's what I would do. This is true. I would come home and I would hang a hard right down the hallway. And I needed at least 6 or 7 hours of debriefing before I ever walked down and asked that dangerous question, how did your day go, right? And if I was lucky that maybe dinner would be served, we could talk about something else, and I would never have to ask that question, right? Now, being serious about it, does that draw us together? No, it doesn't. It doesn't elevate her. I was doing it out of selfish reasons. I didn't want to get 21,874 words at once dumped on me. And so I wasn't doing it. And as a result, I wasn't looking out for the interests of someone else, was I? I was looking out for my own interest. Because I was worded out, I had no words to say. And so I just want to not say anything to it, right? You think about this. Guys, we are really unique birds. You cannot see someone for 6 months. You can run into them at the store or somewhere. And how does the conversation go? What's up? Right? And their response is, it's all good. Done. Code, the last 6 months, screaming. Kids are good, career's good, house is good, everything's fine, done. Good to see you. Hope to see you next Christmas. Right? Women, is that how it works? This is honest. I was observing 4 ladies talking about their hair one day. And I'm a people watcher, right? Because I think you draw a lot of counseling out of watching. And I was watching these 4 ladies simultaneously talk at the same time about their hair color, who they go to, what day, how much it is, how long they put them in that thing that looks like you're talking to aliens, tinfoil, no tinfoil, long strand, this strong, that, right? Simultaneously talking for 20 minutes, all 4 of them. And they got it. And I'm sitting there thinking, wow. I mean, sensory overload. Every gasket in my being bursted, right? I mean, I'm like, oh. Because when I talk, well, one, guys don't ever, Tammy say, oh, did you notice that, did anybody notice you got a haircut? It's like, honey, guys don't go, unless it's like a bad haircut, you go, did you lose the bet? I mean, that's it, right? We don't pay attention. We're lucky we know we're in a room. Let alone who cut your hair, right? I mean, it just doesn't happen. It went wah, 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 right? And then you take that into a relationship, and we sit here and we wonder why it doesn't work. If you don't understand and you're not an expert on your spouse, you're never going to get it. And here's the reality. You will trade this one in for another one, and chances are you're going to get the same thing. Because typically, men are more like men, women are more like women. Not 100%, but for the most part, right? And so when we look at something that isn't working with us, I just need to trade them in. Now, there are some bad characters in which I would agree, yeah. But in general, if the person is a decent person, then you're going to get what you're going to get. And if you don't become an expert in having the wisdom and understanding of how it works, then you're going to be frustrated, and your relationship isn't going to become better. It's going to drift. And there will be a day where the drift will be so large that you'll say, I'm finished. Whatever that may be. There's a breaking point in the relationship. And for you to begin to understand and become an expert at it, and as Proverbs would say, that you would have understanding and wisdom, that you would know what to say and what to do and when to say it and when to do it in order to be able to communicate into their life. You with me? So let me just kind of share this with you, and then we're going to close. If any of the four very first ones, someone got their phone there, any of the four very first ones that we talked about, if you find yourself in any of those four areas, hear my heart, you've got to flee that situation. You've got to flee that situation. Because it isn't worth blowing up your family and blowing up your relationship. You've got to flee it. And if your relationship is experiencing drift, we'll talk more about it next week. If your relationship is experiencing drift, become an expert at your spouse. Know how to read them literally like a book. Let's pray. Father, thank you for your love for us. Lord, thank you that in your word, in James, you say that when we lack wisdom, that we need to ask, and you generously give that wisdom to us. And Father, I pray that as our relationships, it takes wisdom, takes way more than love. It takes wisdom in it. And I pray, God, that you would begin to pour wisdom into our life, that we would be able to understand, we would be able to communicate, we would be able to do the things important in the relationship to enhance our marriages, to enhance our relationship. And Father, I pray that if there is a relationship here that's strained, that as we leave here today, God, that they would make a commitment to be, to experience you, to experience your grace, your mercy, that they would lean into you and seek you to make their marriage all that you desire for it to be. And Father, if there's a person here that's close to crossing the line, or perhaps they've even crossed the line, God, I pray that they would confess it. You're a gracious God. You forgive us. That they would flee from that situation and they would distance themselves. And Lord, as we come back next week, Lord, may you help us to grow our relationships strong, that we would be a church that's filled with great marriages and great relationships. And we give you all the praise and all the glory. And all God's people said,